We're live. Privyet, comrades. I am Robert Fried, also the Russian bot known as Comrade Dmitry, broadcasting live from some rundown ghetto in the middle of nowhere in Siberia. Today we have today we're going to be assorting some assorted issues that we here at the Red Pill Religion Crew have between us at Red Pill and he's formerly known as the Christian anarchist RC Apologist. Say hello, RC Apologist.
Shalom.
Hello. And we got Engine. Introduce yourself.
Konnichiwa.
We got Mr. Brass. Introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I am Mr. Brass.
Nice. And we got the albino snowman. Say hello.
How's it going, everybody?
Hey. Okay, so that's down and out. That's down and out of the way, geez. So I want to ask you, take this as a polite matter. What is your issue with our kind of our side of things, so to say?
Well, based on what I've been told, it's not necessarily all the y'all side of things. It's apparently some of y'all do disagree with the methods in which Max employs his methods. He's the most I have issue with, and the issue is not simply just with the Roman Catholicism issue, but the idea that seems that he's pushing for ideas for people, especially of religious intent, to employ, which is of sort of a theocracy issue. That if it's a militant atheist, with a capital A, as he calls it, then these are people that should not be in too much of conversations with. If they're having a rough housing at the table, then kick them out of the house, or kick them out of the businesses, mock them, ridicule them. These were his words in the clip that he ended up playing on the live stream. And those are issues that people like me, other apologists, especially of whom is inspiring philosophy, have great issue with, is that these are ideas that, based on our experience and how we've used them and how we've seen these been employed, especially by one person by the name of G-Man, who, in my opinion, is a Protestant version of Max, has tried this. And what it does is indeed shut down the conversations.
Right. And I kind of see what you're saying, because I've told Max a dozen times to really chill out on overgeneralizations of people. Like I always tell him, like, he should use the term, and Engine has always told him this too, that he should probably use the term like anti-theist or militant atheist.
Yes.
He shouldn't be, he shouldn't be saying atheist all the time, like when he's making these kind of aggressive and sometimes even vitriolic overgeneralizations.
I don't think I don't think he really goes for the overgeneralization on the issue per se. I just think like he knows what he means. Like people that know him knows what he's talking about, but he doesn't clarify what he means when he says stuff, which can lead to some confusion. And because to someone that doesn't know Max, it can make it seem like what he's saying is a lot wronger than it actually is, and because he doesn't clarify his points, it can come out worse than it actually is.
I'd also like to know, if you don't mind me adding my 2 cents, people get angry. We all understand this. People get upset and they rant. I've ranted. I'm sure all of us at some point in our lives have ranted. It doesn't mean that you necessarily have to take every little word out of the mouth seriously. Not saying you're doing that either, RC, but all of us are with sin.
Mm-hmm.
So we should at least have some kind of understanding towards that, especially the fellow Christians. I don't know if you really see us as fellow Christians, called Eastern Orthodox and Catholics heretics. That's fine. I'm not here to attack you.
Mm-hmm.
But we believe in Jesus Christ just as much as you do.
Well, I don't see with that case concerning Max, for example, if he affirms the doctrine of transubstantiation, and I think that would picture a different Jesus and rather a sinful Jesus, based on the logical following of what occurs if that is the doctrine. So that's
Right.
why I don't think that the issue is about which Jesus, because the Muslims believe in Jesus, but they have obviously a different Jesus.
Well, but the thing of it is, I don't want to get in too much of a theological discussion here because I feel like that's another thing for another time, because the issue is the topic is the issues between us here at Red Pill Religion and with you. I was going to say
mostly theological for me then, because that's my whole issue, is that it's all based upon a worldview, and that's in any form of apologetic, whether it's engaging with other people, whether they be theist or non-theist.
Right.
It's always a worldview issue.
And the thing of it is that Dean has made this clear that he's not doing apologetics.
Obviously.
Right. You understand that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I just want to really clarify this. Do you really think that Roman Catholics and Eastern Orthodox Christians are, not Christians, or
only if they are consistently affirming the doctrines of Rome, or concerning the Eastern Orthodox, that they affirm some of the similar and other different strange beliefs. But there are Roman Catholics I've met who say, no, the Pope, there is no such thing as papal infallibility, and that it is by faith alone in which we are justified and declared righteous. I've met people who identify as Roman Catholics and affirm these things, and there's even scholars like Joseph Fitzmyer, who I have his Luke commentary on that, and he even identifies that, though he is a Roman Catholic, that that sola fide was the doctrine of the early church before later on in some period, and that he likewise slowly leans that way. So these guys I would probably consider to be brothers and sisters in Christ. But to the people who are more affirming of what the Catechism of the Catholic Church states, what the Council of Trent states, and for conforming themselves to the Marian doctrines, then I wouldn't consider these people to be brethren.
Okay.
Of course, there's no infallible pope. There never has been.
Right.
Well, I'm not saying infallible as in his all works. When the issue of papal infallibility goes to when he speaks ex cathedra, that is what it's meant by that statement. Papal infallibility is simply referring to whenever they're sitting and making a doctrinal statement, whether it be in a council or at a meeting. And that's when he's supposed to be speaking ex cathedra, infallibly, in terms of making the declaration of faith and morals. And it doesn't just extend to the Pope, it can extend to other bishops of different churches, as Carl Keating notes in his What Do Catholics Really Believe book.
Okay, what was I going to say? There was the question I wanted, and I kind of lost it. So you don't go as far as saying that, Eastern Orthodox and Roman Catholics are, they're not true Christians, so to say. You don't go that.
It depends on who it is.
Okay, just like Protestants, right? Does that apply to Protestants?
Not just simply the Protestants. Like I said, there are some Eastern Orthodox and some Roman Catholics who would fit into this issue. It depends on the belief, because I know a guy who identifies as an Eastern Orthodox. He's part of a team called the Shield Squad, a group that deals with the Black Hebrew Israelite cult. He identifies as that, but he says that, yeah, man, I believe in sola fide, we are justified by faith alone. And he says this as an Eastern Orthodox.
And he believes in the Black Hebrew Israelite stuff, or?
No, he's part of a team that goes against it. You ever heard of Vocab Malone?
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I haven't.
He's part of his team called Shield Squad, which consists of multiple of different people in it that get into debates on Debate Talk Radio and Google Hangouts, in which they debate and go against the Hebrew Israelites. Okay.
I think I understand a little bit better now. I mean, I'm not a Christian. I'm just kind of like a generic non-religious theist, but it would be kind of interesting to see you and Dean debate, I think.
We were supposed to have two, actually, before the whole thing here. It was about the Protestant Catholic thing, and then how should we treat atheists. Right. And I would have included militant atheists within the category. for that.
And that's something that I've been trying to get him to live stream on, because I wanted to have a video titled "How Do We Engage with the Atheist Community?" Because I think ranting, I think has its place, it has its effectiveness, but there's a difference between ranting and vitriol. And too many times I do see Dean kind of going down the vitriol path rather than just the ranting path. So another thing too I wanted to get into was the issue about the debate you were supposed to have with Max, Dean Esme or Max Colby, I should say. Did you know he was actually banned from the non sequitur show?
Yeah, I ended up relaying that because what had happened was he ended up sending some message to somebody, as well as started posting some interesting comments.
Right.
And as a result, that got him that they just weren't going to deal with it anymore. That he basically crossed a line. They were tolerating some
stuff. You know more about that, so can you reiterate?
Well, as far as
well, I mean, when it comes to the whole messages thing, like, for one, he did, like, from what I got out of it, like, I showed one of my other friends on here named Derek Harms the messages, and it was taken out of context with the situation, because me and everyone were just joking around and we weren't really intending on anything being taken seriously. And so, I mean, and hell, I even took shots at myself during the whole discussion. So I mean, I just didn't know how they could interpret it, like, what we were saying is, like, dead serious about them when we were all just clearly joking.
Right. I don't think anything of it has to do with y'all guys, but the issue is specifically referring to Max, because the reason I can't go into it is the issue that, from what I was told and shown, it was a private email that Max had sent. From what it looked like something from Hotmail, if I'm not mistaken.
It wasn't on Discord, was it?
It wasn't a Discord. It wasn't any of that. It was either to Godless Engineer or to KC, whatever her name is, about something, and he just, along with demanding an apology, a few other things, and then of course something within Discord that I heard about, I think it was things like who was it, Shannon Q or whatnot, that who tried to have respect for him at first, and then she ends up getting thrown under the bus. Because I remember when Shannon first started coming on, the whole scene when she was doing get to know somebody, and they had all kinds of interesting people, and even when they had like the militant flat earther Rand Campbell on there, she was polite and really not as much insulting. So she was able to tolerate a lot of things that I'd seen.
Right.
And he started posting things like, and then I see Max end up posting things apparently like that all female atheists basically result in being like bionic dance, and that their egg cells dry up and be barren. And I really don't think that was an appropriate comment, especially to somebody who was in the beginning just trying to have some sort of gentleness and respect for you.
Right, and I think that that's very kind of vulgar. Well, it is vulgar language, and the thing of it is too, I don't think he treated he shouldn't have treated can't speak. He shouldn't have treated Shannon in that kind of manner, because as I understand it, several months back they made a response to Essence of Thought, who made a video about saying that Adolf Hitler was a Christian and the Holocaust was inspired by Hitler's supposed Christianity. And Shannon, made a comment. I don't think she understood what she was getting herself into, but she made a comment, saying that, Essence of Thought, he's a nice guy. And that's when, Max Colby really went off on her and, started comparing her to a KKK member and Nazi. And I thought that was just outright inappropriate. I wish I would have been on that live stream.
Yeah.
So, oh, go ahead, Brass.
Oh no, I was just thinking like it was just a crazy stream. Like what happened? I don't even remember if I was on that or not.
I don't think
No,
you
you
were.
weren't.
I don't think I. Oh, I wasn't. Oh yeah, I wasn't.
I know Injun was, and I know Buckley was, and I think Philosophy Tiger was.
Yeah, Philosophy Tiger was. I know for sure he.
You
Philosophy
think
Tiger
you think Dean's mean? He lunges at them. Tiger.
Well, but even Philosophy Tiger doesn't he doesn't make the kind of aggressive overgeneralizations that Max sometimes does, and I do think that really works against him. And I've tried telling Max that, if you don't want people to quote unquote take you out of context with, some of the stuff you say, you can't, say them in the first place.
Yeah, essence of sophistry is a lying piece of shit, but that's no reason to go. That's no reason to go off on Shannon.
Right, and I understand why he got mad in the first place. The problem is that he took it out on the wrong person. He should have, been ranting against Essence of Thought, and saying he's an idiot for, thinking that Adolf Hitler was a Christian.
I've gotten on Max too for that sort of stuff because I actually am friends with Shannon on, I'm actually friends with her. I've actually talked to her for a little bit. So I'm more friends with her than anything else. And I think that the whole situation with Essence of Thought and stuff, it was like, I think Shannon was just sort of like in the wrong place at the wrong time with it. Max, and them were just getting really upset over this, and when she just, happened to just make comments, about Essence of Thought that really rubbed him the wrong way. I still think he went too far on that. I don't agree with him on what he said.
And another thing too that I had a problem. Oh, go ahead, Brass.
Yeah. Well, I just think like it was kind of annoying with me with Shannon because Shannon didn't bother to, from as far as I can know, to admit that Essence of Thought was wrong. But so she seemed to be still favoring him, and I think that may have what also gotten Dean a little mad because we were pointing out all the obvious flaws in Essence of Thought's logic.
But here's the thing, I do think that, yelling at her the way he did. And yelling at her in the way he did that in that live stream, that's not going to teach.
I completely agree. He went too far.
Oh, nice! You send me a picture of all the books on Roman Catholicism.
Yeah, that's what I found. Yeah, that's what I found interesting when he claims I'm not even rating them or quoting them correctly. Is that I had to, and he knows this. I showed him this picture that I went to Books A Million, was examining most of the stuff from the scholars of Roman Catholicism, such as Carl Keating, Catholic Answers, Scott Hahn, who is considered very well respected. I even have on PDF file his biblical dictionary. So I take a lot of time into doing all the stuff about that. Okay.
Yeah, I just emailed Max about the email that was sent to D or whatever. I told him to send me a screenshot of it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there was something else I wanted to say. Yeah, like I said, I think the way he went off on Shannon was absolutely abhorrent because if he had just taken his rage out in Essence of Thought, and what's the term they use? The Credible Hulk. Yeah, if he went the Credible Hulk on Essence of Thought, I think she would have learned a whole lot more about the Nazi policy towards the churches during the Nazi regime. So, but instead he went a really dark path instead. So, does anyone else want to say anything?
About the current issue at hand, I wasn't really there. I had nothing to do with it, so I have nothing to really say.
Right.
I mean, not the current issue being the whole Twitter stuff, but just with what you guys are talking about now, I just really don't know enough.
So what did IP have to say further on the matter?
Well, he hasn't really made public statements. I've heard he did go to that Axe ended up messaging him. So there's that. But whenever I talked to him, he just, thought it was crazy. I won't share his private messages that me and him engaged back and forth in. But when it came to his own personal statement, he said, quote, anyone who endorses this hateful nonsense is not following what Christ taught. And this is coming from Inspiring Philosophy on Twitter.
Right.
I don't condone hatred whatsoever.
Neither do I.
I don't think anybody in the right mind should.
And I encourage him to debate you, but he just seems to think your intentions are malicious or misguided.
Which is what I found interesting, because I did eventually, I had to work after around the 50-minute mark, and which, first of all, to clarify, someone made the assumption that I seem like the vigilant Christian.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I'm not. I even come out and condemned vigilant Christians' actions.
Well, I said that, sorry, and I do apologize for that, because I thought, you had kind of like this. You were like this one true Protestantism type that, believed that basically, basically believes that non-Protestant Christians are, heretics and not truly Christians. So, and I know that's, the kind of theology he preaches. So that's
you
why
don't got to apologize for Dean.
Well, I'm not apologizing. I think I said that at one point. I don't think he said that.
Right, but the issue for example, I'm a Southern Baptist, and one of the rivalries that's known amongst that is with the Methodists. But my pastor still sometimes quotes from John Wesley, the founder of the Methodist movement, and he even himself does his own thing where he acts like like he's talking to himself, like he's supposed to be someone else in the audience, like saying, oh, you quote from a Methodist, mean you turn to a Methodist? And he's saying, well, we may not agree on certain things, but we still preach Christ crucified. And if you disagree with what he just said here, then shame on you. So there's things that we can agree on concerning the conservative Methodists, which are more the Wesleyan Methodists versus groups like the United Methodist Church that affirms some troubling doctrines and approves of certain actions that are certainly wicked, like abortion, right, for one.
Okay. This is one thing I wanted to also kind of tackle that was just brought up by the White Engine, was that apparently, don't take this the wrong way, you claim that Buddhism is an atheistic religion that sends you to hell? Yes. Okay. I'd kind of like to correct you there. We can talk about, what sends you to hell, what doesn't, or, but the thing of it is, Buddhism isn't exactly an atheistic religion. It's more of a non-theistic religion.
Well, I got scholars on that regard that are Buddhists that would tell you otherwise, especially in the book, What Do Buddhists Believe?
Right. There's some who do, take that, but there's also some that
well, that's not even just saying that because I agree, there is a sect today, but he mentions that the original earliest sects of Buddhism, before the whole split went about,
right,
the earliest forms that were very close to the time of the Buddha were atheistic in origin. And these are coming from well-respected Buddhist scholars that are writing this literature. They're going to give these out in speeches for whenever people are asking them questions. So like I said, I don't just simply try to just go by, even though I don't think there's anything wrong getting it from secondary sources. I go to the primary sources as well as the scholars to indicate what a certain teaching teaches.
Okay. I just know because well, I have some knowledge about Buddhism because my ex is Cambodian. She's Cambodian American, and Buddhism is a large part of her culture. So, right. So I think I would have to disagree, but that's not the focus of this discussion. So, was there any other issues you have with Dean and indeed the Red Pill Religion crew in general?
Well, as far as since apparently it's been revealed that not everyone agrees with what Max is saying, then my issue is not really with Red Pill in general, it seems. So
yeah, because none of us here
track that hashtag Red Pill Religion is cancer.
Right, because I think the issue with him leading the whole thing and the way it seems to be, that seems to be the problem. And
Will
that
you retract the hashtag?
But I would also recommend and advise that when people are saying they do not approve of this, then why don't you get out of it? Start your own group and try to follow what you're trying to want from him, but instead follow it with your own behavior and the attitude that you're trying to display.
And have a million split-off groups. I'm not against Dean and everything. I'm certainly not with him on everything. However, as we have given you examples, we have told him to chill with this stuff. We've talked to him about it. I've talked to him about it. You can ask all of us here and even more members of Red Pill Religion. I think it's the basic underlying, what would I say? The foundation is we're sick of the anti-theist propaganda from the hardcore atheists. And so we all have that in common. And so,
and we feel they need a little pushing back.
And personally, I feel that with any group, there's always fixing that needs to be done. And I mean, if it's beyond repair, of course, leave. But I don't think Red Pill Religion is beyond repair. Everybody can receive re-instruction. Everybody can receive help. Everybody can relearn. Everybody can help the situation out to make it better. Sure, we may have a bad opinion, or excuse me, not an opinion. What's the word? Reputation to a lot of people. But I believe that does need some clarification. And I believe Dean has a right to clarify himself with that too. Personally, I made a couple videos. I would like to have you and Dean in Inspiring Philosophy. Because personally,
Inspiring, that's the other thing I've talked about. This is the one thing I'll repeat from him. He doesn't want anything to do with the group anymore. Or I don't know if he was involved in it before. Like he says he wants to keep his distance as much as he can.
That's understandable.
From Dean and Red Pill Religion until like the every single thing gets recanted and repented of concerning like what Max has stated within that video.
And that's fine. But I would like to have on my channel, which is
he promoted me as one of his top fans on Facebook just today.
Who?
Inspiring Philosophy.
Oh, nice. Well, the thing of it is that I think when you kind of like use the term Red Pill Religion as cancer, that kind of gives like an umbrella insult to like all of us.
Right.
Also, it's unnecessarily stirring the pot. I've made it clear. My point of view is I felt like on Twitter you were still stirring the pot. This is, in my opinion, giving more ammunition to those that hate us and those that deny Christ and those that deny his church, whatever it may be. Those who deny him and the truth of his life and what he taught. It gives them more ammunition to say, look at the Christians fighting amongst each other. I've seen this crap go on Facebook amongst every denomination under the sun, fighting over just piddly stuff. And it's unnecessary. And I felt like it was just unnecessary on Twitter to sit there and oust him. Like I said to you, I would rather take this up personally with him, and I think that would be a much more mature stance. But, instead things kept going. And so you will find disagreement with me there. I don't think it should have kept going, especially some of the other things. To overgeneralize, especially when you said the Eastern Orthodox and the Catholics are heretics, well, that can be taken as a generalization. And I know I'm being hypocritical, as I know we talked about that earlier in generalizations and whatnot, but you get the point of what I'm talking about. It's unnecessarily stirring the pot. And if you see a brother in error, my personal opinion and my personal beliefs on the subject is to talk to that brother. Talk to them personally, maturely, and see if you can work something out. Discuss it with them. And I know that you've tried and whatever. It's from both sides of where I'm seeing it. Like I said, I'm willing to have you and even IP because I love him. He is awesome, and I don't blame him for what he said. I'm not against him. I'm not necessarily against you either. It's just the whole method as to what happened on Twitter, and that's where I disagree. But I'd like to have you, him, and Dean all on there so that way we can get to some kind of understanding because we really don't need any Christian infighting. We don't need it. Like I said, we don't need to feed ammunition to those that hate Christ and that hate his truth.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and you mentioned about doing your own thing. I have kind of looked into that. I'm starting to trying to build up my own YouTube channel because I do have disagreements with Max, and there's things that he wants to do that I don't want to do, and there's things that I want to do he doesn't want to do. So yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, and my channel, I mean, I do my own thing, like where I try to be as scholarly as I possibly can. And I try to go more into the resources and I want to combat atheism, but I want to try to do it from more of an academic approach. Because I do agree that I don't have a problem with atheist per se, because I do have atheist friends of my own. I have more of a problem with the more internet anti-theist than anything else.
Right, and when we're talking about internet anti-theists, we're talking about the Jacqueline Glenn's, the Dark Matter 2525s, the Cult of Dust,
the Aaron Ross, the Autism is Unstoppables.
Right, and a lot of them were very abrasive and arrogant. So we figured, that the goal of oh, go ahead, Brass.
I mean, yeah, and we try to go after them because, I mean, I do know, like you were saying about, how there are atheists that do end up coming to Christ, and I do agree that is a possibility, but I also believe in the whole realistic approach. I do the analytical thing. I believe honestly, guys like TJ Kirk and the rest of them, even if they were to come to Christ by some miraculous way, they would likely pretend to be atheist online because their entire framework that they make money by, that they operate with people by, is completely predicated on them being atheist and non-believers. So I believe even if you were to get a guy like TJ Kirk or Dark Matter 2525 to become Christians, I would honestly not be surprised if they just pretended to still be atheist, simply because they have too much financial gain from being atheist.
At that point,
well, that wouldn't necessarily be true because we have cases where that's been shown the other way. Brett Keane, for example, being one person who was, before there was TJ Kirk, when YouTube was in its starting phase, he was the go-to, here's the atheist channel. He claimed that he
was really popular back when he was a popular atheist channel.
He was in fact TJ's inspiration to start his channel. Was Brett Keane during his atheism years, because he was wearing a leather jacket like he was going to shoot up Columbine. He was, and he went to a church saying, I'd be the better pastor because unlike these Christians, I actually know the Bible. I know the wickedness in it. And he's doing all this stuff that we see in some of these things.
And then when he apostatized out of atheism, they smeared him and they ruined him.
Right. And so, but then of course that still goes to other issues that even me and him had gotten caught up in, as well as other people. He was kind of just, even other Christians and theists in general, that he started pushing out, because he tried then for a literal 2 months was an atheist again, and then went back to being a general theist, and then became a Christian. So he was the flip-flopping.
I did pay attention to him for a while, and he was a Christian at one point, and then he was sort of like me, just kind of a non-religious theist, and then he was back to a Christian. So it was eventually I just kind of stopped following him because it was really boring after a while.
Yeah, but the point being is that people can still have this sort of innovation to become and change their perspective. For example, people were scared of me changing my name from Christian Anarchist to RC Apologist. I changed the name because of hating the name Anarchist there, and people getting the wrong impression. Even though,
anarchist.
yeah, even though I'm conservative Republican.
Oh, really?
Yes,
and it got to the point where Brett Keane is now a meme.
Well, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What was I going to say?
Well,
yeah,
I
but
think
I would
also,
say
I also think it, it would make you think like it would make people, because typically when people put anarchists on YouTube channels, normally the first thing that people think about is anarcho-capitalist.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean,
usually some people, including atheists, have put it as Antichrist whenever they sell my name. So
Antichrist.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, it can go. I can easily see how that could be. Having that name can be either easy to poke fun at, or it could just be easy to misinterpret.
Right, and the thing of it is, though, I would say in your case it's a bit different because don't take this as an insult. You're not as popular as, say, a TJ Kirk or Dark Matter 2525.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they thrive on drama, which, of course,
he's popular for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm. But the issue is I don't care about the numbers and the popularity and all that. The issue I'm concerned about is truth, and that's what I tend to get down to.
That jackass ruined the Bible for so many people.
Who?
Dark Moron 2525.
Well, he's another issue.
Dark Matter.
Who?
Dark Matter.
Those ones with the cartoons that you lose brain cells watching?
I know, and that's my point, is that he's lost relevance. I barely hear of him. There's not really anyone in any of the serious circles that I deal with that know who he is or talk to.
Right.
He's pretty much lost his place, and the only main thing I've seen him deal with is a couple of videos dealing with SJWs, and then a couple of issues dealing with politics. So it's pretty much just down to that.
Right. He had one video we went over, though, where he talked about the so-called, Christian Dark Ages.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen that one.
No, like I said, I focus on the rather more serious and actual trying to present an argument. And even if they are low in numbers, they're at least people that I would take seriously into consideration. Because people like Jacqueline Glenn, for example, Jacqueline Glenn, for example, has been taken on by a channel by the name of Pixels and Papyri, who is very scholarly type of person. Made a 12-minute and 50-second video debunking all the claims that Jacqueline Glenn makes concerning mythicism, about where Jesus gets the originated stories, goes to the scholars, goes to the biblical text, reads the original language, all that.
I even mirrored his vids on Leviathan and Behemoth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe his name is Ben Stanhope. I think that's his real
name. That's it.
Yeah,
he's good friends with Rob from Sentinel.
Yeah, I actually do like him. I do like his videos. He is very scholarly. I actually have read some of his sources, and I do find them really to be top notch because I do study the Bible, and I do try to get to the bottom of these matters.
Mm-hmm.
I got so much work that I am trying to get done with my own channel, which I do. I always consider the Red Pill Religion as more of like a side project that I do for fun, while I'm also on the side working on my more academic channel.
And I'm mirroring videos until I gain enough subscribers, and I'll get to the Bible and history.
Yeah.
By the way, I just noticed you mirrored something from Keith Thompson. I'd be really careful of that.
Why?
Regardless of what you, even if it's a friendly mirroring and you're given the original attribution, apparently it's kind of like when people have mirrored Greg Bonson's material. He just doesn't want you to do that. He wants the entire thing on his channel and his channel alone, unless you're following fair use laws.
Well, I sent a link to his channel.
Well, like I said, regardless of even if you do that, he still has taken down taken down those videos mirrors from other people. and has requested just leave it alone, just keep it only on his.
I'd rather just get the message getting out is more important.
Well, but Engine, here's the thing. I told you in Max not to well, I highly recommend against it, not to mirror those videos, no matter how much you may like it and you may share it wherever you want. But I think to actually mirror it like that on your channels, and this goes with Dean too, it just kind of, it's like poking a bear with a stick.
Right. Like he may understand what you're doing, but even then he still tends to I don't know if he goes that far, but even will like do the whole copyright strike type of thing, and that would then hinder a bit of your uploads at that point.
Right, and also, like I said, it was right after the controversy just settled between the Great Debate community and the Red Pill religion.
Yeah,
I
I don't know why he does that, because he's done that. Because there's, I don't know. To me, I think what he is that there's some things that he posts that he just wants forgotten. Like he posts a clip now, but there was a movie, a short film, which is probably his first documentary that he did. That was about 17 minutes long, called Free Will, Pagan and Unbiblical. He removed it. The only thing that's left on his channel is a 3-minute and 30-second clip called Proof Free Will is the Pagan Man-Made Doctrine, which doesn't really go into the Bible, but just the survey from the book Love, Freedom, and Evil. Does authentic love require free will, from Thaddeus J. Williams? And that's mostly what you're getting from that clip. But he has deleted the video. He deleted a video that he'd made called X-Men Apocalypse Teaches People to Hate the Second Coming of Jesus Christ.
Then, well, it was the character was supposed to reflect the God of the Old Testament, because the director's trying to be edgy. But
well, no, that character was there way before the movie. That's who the guy was. That was how he was sort of depicted. It was just, being an evil person, that it was eternal. But that being said, he then also made a video about I forget, it was a UFC fighter who ended up thanking God and giving God the glory. But then after it was come out that this guy was Catholic, he deleted that video. So he has a tendency to sometimes delete some of the videos he's made. He's deleted 2 actually because of a thing me and him had. And I likewise took my videos responses towards him down. But he recognizes that the reason, at least for those 2, was because that he changes his mind on them, and he wants people to forget about it because he wants to repent and change of that, and he realizes he was in the wrong for posting some of these things.
Right. And believe it or not, Max has actually kind of done a similar thing. He took down like most of the videos that where he was like being really vitriolic, like even some
one that I mentioned.
Yeah, and I think it would have had like some of the stuff in that video you shared on Twitter. So he's kind of done a similar thing. It's kind of it's really a work in progress in my opinion.
Yeah,
who isn't a work in progress though? People make mistakes. Right. I think it's part of.
Yeah, but his debunking of Aaron Ra needs to get out.
Right.
Well, the issue is that, as he would even admit himself, Aaron Ra just debunks himself for the most part. I mean, not just him that's gone against him. Rob of Sentinel Apologetics has taken him on, and it just shows that Aaron Ra will admit to some of the evidence that is seen, but is still also still sort of, not willing to accept.
Yeah, when it comes to the science, but he never admits when he's wrong on theology or the Bible.
Not the science. It was the issue about the scholarship, because that's the main thing that Rob dealt with, because he was one of the things about the topic was about the Bible, whether it was true. And he brings up not just the issue with the Exodus and other archaeological findings, but the Exodus conference, in which Christian, Jewish, and atheistic scholars came to the leading scholars came to this conference. And remember, this is a time still when the majority consensus was that the Exodus never happened. And a majority of the people that were there changed their mind but based on the new evidence that was discovered, even though the one that didn't change his mind was the one that still leads the sort of movement, which is Israel Finkelstein. So yeah, he mentioned that, and Aaron Ra never heard about this. So that's the thing, is that there's people who are just stuck to what a lot of the basic Christian stuff is, but they never get into these conferences. They never get into what the apologetic methods is, and that's what we're trying to do with Sentinel Apologetics, with Spiritually Honest Ministries, which is my particular ministry, and the other different apologists that are trying to get out and do their own thing, is to bring about something that we know for a fact is something that they've never heard of. Sometimes they don't care, but I know people who have heard these things and have converted to Christianity. There was a guy that I met during the earliest years of my Ask Christian Anarchist show, and he would come in with questions being very antagonistic, like the verse where it says, and death and Hades was cast into the lake of fire. It's like, why is the Bible talking about the pagan deity known as Hades? And I'm like, it isn't. It's a Greek equivalent of the word Sheol. We kept going and like, no, it's Hades, and he's what Max would call these militant atheist types. After discussing these things with him patiently, I find out that he ends up trying to call me at some point, and he converted to Christianity. And the reason why was because he was going through a hard time. He saw that his wife was struggling, and he's kept interacting on Hangouts, same image, but he said, my whole outlook on this has changed, and I want to thank you for this. So there was that. Then there was another person I know, very anti-atheist, or very anti-theist type person. It's definitely hung with that crowd. One night I was considering and attempting suicide, and as I stick the blade to my throat, that's when I get a message ping from this person who claimed that she was about to do the same thing, but she fainted before that happened, and a voice came into her head and said that she is still needed on earth, and her family especially needs her. And she could only depict that was God. And she told me that she had converted to Christianity within that moment. But we had made conversations before about this.
And then there's those like Emperor Edgelord who will just assume that they know everything there is to know, and they then call bullshit anyway, and it will get super sensitive if you try to correct them on anything.
Well, some people, are really stubborn. The thing of it is about that's a really good story you have, RC Apologist. That's really interesting. That I think everyone's approach is different. Like we have a different approach, compared to what you do. Yours is, definitely, I think, much more nicer. We're definitely much more shit poster types, but we distinguish between shit posting and just that kind of style versus just like how Max is ranting all the time, or vitriolically ranting all the time.
Right. But here's the thing at the same time that I don't understand is that okay, I understand that people have asked me to be a part of the whole Discord group. I remember there was actually White Engine who did that first, and so when that happened,
what I do?
You sent me the link to join the Discord group.
Yeah.
So when that happened, I was already familiar with other types of groups where there were disagreements. There was a group that I was invited to join called the Furry Raiders, and the reason for that was because after defending one of the guys from that group on Twitter, I was accused of being an alt-furry Nazi and Nazi sympathizer, and am now on something. Yes, and I'm now on something called.
Do you know who said that?
Huh?
Do you know who said that?
It was a lot of people. It was pretty much the snowflake furries that have corrupted the fandom, that have caused a lot of problems. And as a result, now I'm considered an alt furry, and I'm on this alt furry block list, which I'm neither alt right and I'm not even a furry. So they just want to put anyone they want in that list that they just disagree with. And so
and that occurred
What?
And that occurred at the Red Pill Religion?
It occurred before I had got involved with this Red Pill Religion thing, because afterwards I was then joining their the Furry Raiders conversation, or whatever it is called, where there was like 200 people that could talk about things and they disagree with things. But at least we have the right to express an opinion and not put you on a block list or get offended every single time something brought up. We could discuss things reasonably. And because of that, we got big people joined into that, like a guy who was a comedian in the fandom who got kicked out of the shows now because he voiced an opinion and people disagreed with it. And now he's on the same list. And now we can talk things, disagree. There are people that talk about homosexuality, disagree with it or not. It doesn't matter. They can still talk and express their opinions. There are people that talk about guns. Should they limit the guns, or is there really no need for much of gun control? We are able to talk about these things without being offended, as well as the issue of should Nazi art and all this stuff still be portrayed. People that may disagree or may not, we can still agree to disagree. But when I went into the Discord chat, it was clear that Max had made it clear that when I was challenging out certain beliefs, I would like to say that based on what I remember, I was trying to be as respectful as possible, while still at the same time calling it out for what I see it. And people can, again, like Max claims I don't enjoy doing, I welcome anyone to challenge my beliefs and challenge what I'm saying. And he said that that's not allowed. We can agree and talk about atheism and be against it, but as soon as you start disagreeing with other people on their personal beliefs, you got to get kicked out. And I found that to be an essence of what Antifa, SJW type of thinking is, and that's why I left that group of my own free will to not be involved with that.
Okay. Well, and this kind of goes back to what I was saying about some of my disagreements with Max. One of the things he's kind of predicated on which is this idea that that Christians are under attack, even at this very moment, and here in the United States. And I think that's really kind of out there, because if you want to look at a society where Christians really are under attack, you would look at a country like, I don't know, North Korea, where 65 to 70,000 Christians are interned in North Korea's deadly Nazi-style concentration camp system. That's according to human rights experts. And anyway, his idea is that atheists, if there are friendly atheists, as he called them, they should always, stick up and defend. This is his words, quote unquote, stick up and defend religious people, unquote.
And that's to be why, if anyone, regardless of what your, ideas are, I mean, if he is claiming to be a Christian, and that because he said to me he has the Bible on his side for certain things. This is one thing I tried to send him before he shortly either removed me from being friends on Discord or just blocking me. I don't know which option he chose. But was 1 Peter chapter 3, starting in verse 14, saying, "But even if you should suffer for righteousness' sake, you will be blessed. Have no fear of them, nor be troubled, but in your hearts honor Christ the Lord as holy, always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you. Yet do it with gentleness and respect, having a good conscience, so that when you are slandered, those who revile your good behavior in Christ may be put to shame." So that's why people like me, people like Robert Rowe and Hunter Bailey of Sentinel Apologetics, people like Inspiring Philosophy, we do it calm, be well-mannered, with respect. And the reason why is because of the one thing that this verse promises us, is that when we're doing it with gentleness and respect, with a good conscience, that means that whenever they start slandering us, or whenever they start asking for the defense, and we give it, regardless of, how they perceive it, whether they accept it or not, if they try to slander us or anything like that, then they will be put to shame alone based upon that. And that's why I prefer formal moderated debates, why I allow that it's not about me winning, it's about other people in the audience deciding who made the case. And I don't care, regardless of what the majority thinks I'm right or wrong. The issue is let them make the case regardless. It's them who's watching us make the case.
Right. And the question I would have is, if I were to invite Dean on, not right now, of course, but maybe sometime later, if I were to invite Dean and you onto my channel, and we could have a discussion more than a debate, kind of like what we're doing now, would you agree to that?
I would. I don't think he would, because I listened to what he said during the end, and he claimed that the only way that it would have happened is that I explained what my beliefs were, and that he got to explain what his beliefs were, and then we shook hands, and we are done, as he says, with that. I don't even know about that would even be possible either, because he asked me to apologize for quote unquote taking him out of context or something like that. It took me a while, but I said, okay, I apologize for taking you out of context. And he says, I don't believe you. I'm like, okay, no matter what I do, you're just going to, because there are things I said in the live chat that a couple of y'all were reading for me to him, that I was willing to have my IDs challenged. Like, no, he doesn't. I'm like, okay, I got screenshots on my phone that shows you asking me questions and I gave answers. So yeah, that's a lie right there. But yeah, he'll say things that as if he knows my mind, as if he knows my brain, and I don't do that for him.
Right, and I can understand where your gripes are with that, because I do think he kind of psychologically projects a lot. He shouldn't be, if so, geez, it's kind of hard to say, but if someone, like you, apologizes for taking him out of context, he should assume the best on everyone. He should be, assuming the worst on everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
that's how.
Yeah, I don't mind if you try to do it. I'm just gonna let you know right now, based on what I've heard last night, or well, technically it is last night. It's 12:14 in the morning. That I don't know if it'll happen, because he seems to suggest that seems to be the only way that me and him are ever going to be in a room.
Well, the thing of it is, he does have a temper, and when he does cool down, he's much more reasonable to talk to.
True.
So maybe I'll try talking to him, later.
I'll talk to him too, because I'd like to see any of these issues, as I've said before, resolved. We're all human, like I've said, and right. I wish, knowing how YouTube is, I wish people would put that into consideration.
Right.
A little bit more into consideration. I'm not saying you don't, but
and here's the thing: it doesn't have to be that just because I'm disagreeing and calling out Roman Catholicism on certain doctrines doesn't mean we have to disagree. There's a guy that I'm still friends with today, and we went back and forth on this. I don't know if anyone is familiar. He went through different name changes on YouTube. He went by Epicurus something.
I think I've heard of him.
Epicurus the Greek. Then he became Maximus Confessus. So he was someone that we were good friends with. I even said myself, out of all the Roman Catholic apologists I've seen on YouTube, he is the one person I have the most respect for and would love to debate, because he's a blogger on Patheos, I believe, as well as being in the Liturgical Legion, is where he posts the most, and he still does today. Does a lot of posts, and we went over an issue concerning Sola Scriptura. He wrote an article about Sola Scriptura and why it was supposedly where it supposedly had problems, which was called St. Paul versus Sola Scriptura, a dilemma for Protestants. I made a video responding to it, and I was very kind of respectful. I went to explaining the Protestant position, then going to Roman Catholic scholars explaining where the inconsistency lies within their view, and then he made a response. Instead of trying to insult me or anything like that, he made a response article, which was funny too, because I make some good points towards me, as well as even having a funny picture up, say where it's, I forget what scene it was, but it looks like an Old Testament scene where he's displaying himself as a king, and I'm some random guy pointing to him, making an accusation with a frowny face, and Max is saying, "Not today, prot." And I couldn't tell if that was like just him trying to shorten Protestant, or if at the same time being the like meme to like saying prot and the term thought. I don't know if that was intentional on his behalf, but
prot. I'll put some context on that. In Facebook, there's a lot of infighting between Christians, like I said, in various denominations. A lot of the Catholics, in terms of Christians, it's a derogatory term towards Protestants. Granted, it goes back and forth, but it's not thought. It's not really a derivative of thought. It's
because that wasn't around during the time we made that video. That's the thing. That's why I said that, is like maybe some. But anyways, my point being was that me and him, we know what our position is. He thinks that we need to get right and turn back to Rome. I think he needs to get back and have Rome repent. But we can still agree on, being friends and all that kind of stuff. We don't have to necessarily fight and argue, even though, we'll call each other out on certain things. But right. I mean,
well, in Snowman would say, you need to repent and turn to either Constantinople or Moscow.
not necessarily. It's just. I have my own issues. Us Eastern Orthodox have our own issues with the Roman Catholics and so on.
Yeah.
And we have our cases. We don't even believe in the what is it?
Transubstantiation?
Yeah, we don't even believe it. And there's a number of other things that the Catholics believe that we don't. Not to rap on all of them.
That's why I can never get really what y'all believe, is because when I tried doing research on that, there was really, I didn't see a catechism. I didn't see really a confession. I saw like different liturgies, like the Byzantine and the Coptic, and they had their own different websites and all that. It was way too confusing for me to understand what it was that y'all actually believed.
If you wanted to have like a civil conversation about it, which forgive me. I'm sure you will. Sorry, I'm still in defensive mode. Forgive me. But if you want to talk a little about it, I'm actually. We do have a catechism process.
Okay.
And I'm actually a catechumen myself, but I'll explain to you what I know through the Orthodoxy. I'd like to have actually, if you have time, I'd like to explain a little bit to you after this, if you're cool with that.
Well, I don't know. It's like I said, it's 12:20, and I gotta do some housework in the morning as well as get ready for work at the same time.
Yeah, I would love to. Maybe we could host like another discussion between you and Albino Snowman, in addition to you and Matt, possibly.
Well,
I don't want to get now to clarify. I don't like debates. I suck at debates. I'm not that smart. I just know a few things, and I'm basically a schlub with an opinion sometimes.
Oh, right. We can just have a discussion then.
I'm not like Steve McRae. I can't do like all the good production stuff that he does. I can only like host a debate, like on or to host a discussion. Geez, what I'm doing like right now.
That's the same thing I do for my channel. Which I mean, if y'all want to just go ahead and bring it on there, I do. Since I guess it's not going to happen, we'll do an Ask RC Apologist every Friday. And so, since we were supposedly supposed to have the debate or discussion on Friday, and that's not going to happen. So, I mean, then that gets that going again. So, feel free to stop by, just ask for the link, and I'll get you the link to come in. I know I already have invited White Engine to come on whenever that starts up.
Right, and I really wish to mend the wound, the potential expanding wound here. Forgive me if I've come off as very mean and vile. I
haven't gotten that at all from you.
Okay.
Right, and I apologize too for anything mean I've said or done.
But guys, stop apologizing. I haven't heard a single mean thing that I've heard from any one of you.
Okay. Placebo.
It's always good to be sure.
Not even me, Lord Byron.
Lord Byron, I thought you were Logan Paul.
No, some atheist said I look like Lord Byron.
I admit that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
I would like to see some more dialogue. Like, we'll have a talk with him. We'll talk with him because he ain't a bad guy in all reality. He's a good guy. I get along with him a lot of things. Granted, we have our differences with, between our beliefs in Roman Catholicism and Eastern Orthodoxy and so on. But he is a good guy, and I do believe he genuinely believes in Christ. He's with everybody. He's fallen into error for certain things. I believe, I've fallen into error for certain things. I'm sure you yourself have fallen into error of certain things. All of us have. Oh, yeah. For all of sin and fallen short of the glory of God. And I think it's just part of the process of healing to sit and have a civil discussion. And people are angry right now.
Yeah. It's just with my problem here is that, as soon as the controversy ended, and he did kind of like, he did do an apology and took down many of his older videos where he is vitriolic, the controversy starts all up again. That's my main problem, because I thought, it would end, for a while.
And to speak, at least on my behalf, I don't want to be against any of my fellow Christians. I'd rather work with them. I mean, granted, the Mormons and the witnesses, their theology is a different matter. That I think a majority of us can agree with them, but not agree with them, but agree on their issues. But like I said, I would love to see more cooperation between us Christians for the sake of Christ, because we all should be unified under Christ the King. And we should be working together to answer these atheists. And I agree, we should be doing it with more gentleness, compassion, love, and mercy, instead of, getting so angry. And I know that's our first instinct. And I'm hyper guilty of that because I have a temper myself. But we should work together and so on. And I think through time, if we can have some good discussions and, mend some of the wounds that have been dealt here and come together as brothers in Christ and deal with this, we can all, try again. And I think that's the heart of it all. That's what I wanted to see. And that's, when I make the case for my videos, because I've seen too much of the infighting and it's led to some horrible fights between brothers. And it's not necessary. So, yeah, I look forward to further discussions and mending of this wound.
Right. Definitely. So with that being said, is there anything else, any other issues anyone else want to bring up?
Well, I'll just say this. I mean, I appreciate the conversation that y'all brought forth and wanted to do this. It was a shame I couldn't make it in when I had at least an hour or so to, converse with him, because I know several of y'all had wanted that. But I would just advise this, that y'all say that y'all do disagree and try to talk with him. I would just simply advise, whether you say y'all already do that or not, to any of the people that are watching, if you do see Max do something that you do disapprove of in terms of either behavior or what is being mentioned, do not be afraid to call him out on it, whether it be not just privately, but also on the stream itself. Now, people will try to say that this seems like good popcorn or ammo to use. People will say that for literally anything. So don't care about the opinions that they have. Use what, if you are rather a Bible-believing Christian, or if you're following any sort of idea, at least one thing can be understood. Let your light shine before men, so they may see the glory. Just let your works show so that people can see that, not only will that, show that what's being done is a good thing, but that the act itself of the healing can be seen in the public as well. I think ultimately that's why I have, suggested people to openly rebuke people, which the Bible says open rebuke is better than secret love, is that things can be reconciled and healed about these issues. I've done this in the past. It's managed to work. Sometimes you've had to cut off the loose ends and the ties with some people who just became poison, but ultimately it did get things resolved because at least it was brought to people's attention and others took notice of it. Sure. So that's why we've done that with a guy who thought that the issue of concerning Jesus, that the Holy Spirit was Jesus' mother, and that Mary was just a surrogate. There was a lot of interesting things about that. He got called out on that. I made an hour and 30-minute video calling him out on that, and other brothers in Christ took him to task on that. And so ultimately, we're hoping that that gets resolved. Secondly, is
who proposed that idea?
A guy by the name of Tommy Hall, who was a intelligent design advocate / anti-vaxxer. So then you have, like I said, who I thought was the Protestant version of Max, which is G-Man, who he was going over a lot of things in his life. He in a hangout, he got a bullhorn, a megaphone out, turned it on as loud as he could, and shouted into it, which triggered someone's PTSD, as well as someone who had to put in these certain earbuds in that allows them to hear. Their ears were really sensitive. He never apologized. It had to take a few of his brothers, including his cousin, to get him to apologize.
Okay.
G-Man did that?
Yeah, G-Man did that, as well as the recent thing that really has drawn the line with a lot of people now is he tried to make a video called, quote, Sakari Coon Diss Rap, which was a video of him rapping and as a diss track against a Hebrew Israelite sect known as Sakari. And one of the lyrics was called that he was going to bust a drag nut up your doctrine. And the drag nut is actually the name of somebody's actual name, not N-U-T, but N-A-U-C-T. But still, the context is that he's going to take a base. He kept justifying saying it's like a baseball bat, like bust up somebody. But no, it was like, I'm going to take a baseball bat against your doctrine, and then I'm going to bust a drag nut. Like, I asked anybody, and in general, who have no idea except that those words that he tried to use. And he said, no, I got that he's referring to some sort of sexual innuendo. He got kicked out of Shield Squad because of that, and now is butthurt about it. He thinks that everyone is making too much of a big deal about this.
Busting a drag queen's nuts or whatever?
No, some YouTuber by the name of Dragnut, who has debated against young Earth creationists or intelligent design opponents about evolution, because he goes to he's about to get a degree, forget if it's his master's or a PhD in biology, and so he's learning and getting in close contact with the science, as well as dealing with some of these biologists concerning evolution, and he's sort of becoming a tutor and a teacher on that. But there are people who still want to debate that issue, and G-Man just had a very big hard-on for the guy that he want to be obsessed and bring him up in a song. And so
yeah, I've told Max before that, if he keeps going down the way, of yelling and vitriol and overgeneralization, he is going to be known as like the G-Man, another G-Man, or another Christy Winters, or another Steve Shives.
Yeah, and it's getting bad with the G-Man situation right now. I mean, G-Man is losing subscribers. He was never
popular to begin with, I think, either.
No, he got popular, and you know how? Because of the whole what was it? What was TJ Kirk's show? The Drunken Peasants? Yeah, he was constantly a guest on there, and he literally tried to, because he tried to ask him, hey, you should come up there. You'll get really popular. I guarantee you, you'll get 5,000, 10,000 subscribers. And I'm like, I'm not interested. Like, you should be, man. So to me, that's mostly what I was seeing, is that he was just in it for numbers, and he keeps obsessed and bringing that up, is that he...
Right, because even back in 2014, I would go on his channel, and I would see that he was on he was a frequent... I can't speak. He was a frequent guest of the Drunken Peasants podcast, but then I would go on his channel, and this is 2014 or whatever, and most of the people who are watching are hate watching him, and they're giving him, he got a majority of dislikes on every video.
Yeah, that's why he does it. He just wants to do something where he wants that attention. And to me, I don't really seek for that. I seek to, people just come and learn. That's why most of my videos are mostly like educational types.
I never really understood the hate for J-Man. Like, I kind of feel bad for the guy.
Well, to me, he brought it on himself because he says a lot of weird things, and he's even gone against videos where I've responded about atheism. Like, people ask me why I don't engage with atheism too much, and to me, I don't think it's a big problem. I think Islam is more of a problem and more of a threat to not just the spiritual health, but the physical health compared to atheism. I think that atheism is like that little gnat.
The atheist propaganda is arguably worse.
Well, that's the thing. Even the atheist propaganda is like a little flying gnat that's trying to get your attention, but you don't give it much attention.
I kind of see what you're saying, RC, because like most of the atheists, the big atheist threat, to Christianity was dealt with in 1991 after the fall of the Soviet Union, and it was replaced by political Islam, or radical jihadism. So I can kind of see what you're saying, but I felt like part of the reason why I joined the Red Pill Religion crew was because I wanted to kind of debunk some of the bad atheist history. Like you would hear atheists saying that the Pope was pro-Nazi and militant atheism had nothing to do with communism and all that kind of stuff. Also, the Dark Ages was Christian Dark Ages, that kind of spiel.
Right.
So that was my major reason for joining the Red Pill
Religion
Religion
I noticed
group.
Brass left.
You just now noticed?
Yeah, he just left. Wow. He left just a while ago, so
yeah, that's been
they even said bye, Brad. That
was like 22 minutes ago.
Yeah, it was like half hour ago.
I'm paying attention, man.
Well, I'll be. Gotta pay attention.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd have to say about rebuking your brother if he's in there is just, I agree with you, but there should be a way to do it that isn't insulting, especially with the SJW stuff. I don't know. I just personally disagree with some of the way you handle it. But again, I think we got to the point and we all understand each other's point about it. Yeah, I would agree. If somebody's in error, do it and do it tastefully, I would say. But, that's all I wanted to say. Robert, do you think we've been going for a while? Just kind of time reminder. I got to go to bed pretty soon, but I mean, you guys want to keep talking. By all means. But did you want to end this or?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, RC. I keep wanting to call you Christian Anarchist because that was your old name, but RC Apologist.
You're not the first.
RC Cola.
But my grandpa's favorite drink.
That's an even worse insult, I think.
No, you're not the first person that has problems with that. Even Kyle from Non Sequitur is like, he's gonna miss that. That was my trademark. I'm like, I'm sorry, man. You're just gonna have to get used to it. I'm RC Apologist now. I'm going through changes, and I wish to self-identify as this now.
Reformed Christian is what Keith Thompson went by before he changed it to exegetical apologetics.
Yeah, the reason why, I don't know if you saw the new video he did responding to the Muslim that claimed that the New Testament was corrupt was, that the New Testament was unreliable, I think was a more accurate term he used, was because his original website, he lost the domain name. He tried to redeem it, but there was a problem going that it wouldn't allow him to. So he just let it die and make a new one. So now there's a new website and a new channel and all that people can go to. Okay.
Yeah. So I think that's a good point to kind of end it on. So there was something else I wanted to say, but now I forget. It'll come to me later, and then I'll.
You said you were going to have a live channel Friday or something.
Oh, I mentioned. Yeah, I was gonna try. I'll try talking to Max and getting through to him on some of the stuff you bring up. And we'll try to take it from there. I would like to try to get him to repair relations with Shannon Hugh, because they actually had a really good friendship, and up until that one Essence of Thought video they responded to.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try to get him to repair relationships with her too. So yeah, that's a good note, I think, to end it on.
No, he's convinced that she's in this for the money to get paid, and that she's just
I'm going to try talking to him.
A MILF poster girl.
I'm going to try talking to him.
A product.
Okay, well, I'm going to try to talk to him about that, and I would love to have a discussion about Buddhism because it was so close to my high school years due to my ex. But yeah, I think we'll call it there. And this has been one of the first of many videos I will be doing. So I've been having fun, live streaming. So this is Robert Fried, aka the Russian bot known as Comrade Dmitry, and we Das Vidanya, comrades.